All right, so these wheels and tires are awesome. I like them. So far, so good. You can see again in the garage here the positive 6mm offset. You got a little bit of tread sticking out on the back, but on the front you got more. I think the front axle is a little bit wider than the rear actually, or maybe it's just the way the body is shaped. Kind of hard to tell, but there's a complete row of tread blocks outside the fenders, even with the positive offset, which is the reason why I always recommend people not to get negative offset wheels on these new Jeeps. A lot of people do it anyway because they like that skateboard look, but I mean, even with a positive offset, you're going to have some sticking out. Same kind of deal over here, even though it's a little different because of the way that the track bars are mounted on these things, but you can see I still have some sticking out. So anyway, the issue there is that you get rocks, you get mud. See the mud all down the side of the Jeep, which I don't really care so much about the mud, but the rocks kind of irritate me. You know, the rocks will hit these hinges. That one right there's already got a mark on it. They'll knock the paint off the hinges. I've even had a couple that have hit the door itself. You can hear it. Sounds awful. Makes you cringe when you're going down the road. Not good. So I found what I hope is going to be a little bit of a remedy. You can see the Mopar. People keep asking me what these are. I didn't realize that nobody had seen these before. Those are just the factory Mopar splash guards. You can get them from the dealership. Got those on the internet myself because they're a little bit less expensive, but nothing special about them. They're just the Mopar ones. They do have the Jeep name on there. I'm not real crazy about them, but it was the only thing available at the time, so that's why I went with them. But hey, let me show you. So my wife would get mad, but it's cold outside, so I'm going to use the stove as a workbench here for just a moment. So these are the RokBlokz that I was talking about. Some of you may have seen these. They had some Smarties candy packaged in here. My son thought that was kind of funny. He stole those already, but there's the hardware pack. Got some instructions in there, a little air freshener. It looks like a mud flap. And these are supposed to give you a lot better coverage than the factory ones. So they're a little bit wider, and this particular set is a little bit longer too because I got the extra long ones. So we're going to put those on there, and hopefully that'll kind of fix the issue of coverage. Hopefully. We'll see here in just a minute. And then of course here's the hardware, and the interesting thing about the hardware on these is that it's just basically some thumb screws and little clips here. So the idea is you could take these on and off if you wanted to. Let's say you're going to go off-road on the trails and you're worried about ripping them off. You could just undo the thumb screws and take them off real quick. So kind of a neat thing. And I'm going to open these up and see how they... Tucker, stop playing with the food bowl. I'm going to have to go over there and get the dog. Every time he finishes eating, he starts rolling the food bowl around. So anyway, there's how you spell it. RokBlokz, if you want to search for it online. Now these things are a much more rigid material. They're not real flimsy like a lot of mud flaps. It's a real rigid, almost like a high impact plastic kind of material. So it'd be interesting to see how that holds up over time. But we're in here room temperature and they're kind of rigid, so maybe in the cold weather they'd get even more stiff. I don't know. Then again, they might hold up really well. We're going to find out. All right, so I'm going to try and give you, if I can, with two hands here, a visual on how the coverage is going to change. So compared to the factory Mopar, it doesn't look like it goes up as high, but you can see that once you get down low, you get a lot more coverage in both width and length. So, you know, there's probably, just eyeballing it here, I would say there's probably about 2 inches of additional width sticking out right there and several inches of length. So, I mean, it's going to be better. I don't know that it's going to cure the issue, but it's going to definitely be better than the factory one. So, I guess it's just a matter of getting in here, taking off these plastic rivets. There's 2 there, and I think there's a third one over there where you can't see. Just got to take those plastic rivets out, and then we can replace it all with the clips and the thumb screws. Should be very simple, and I'm not even really going to do a to-do on this, because I mean that's all there is to it. Everybody can figure this out. A monkey could do this job, right? So I'm going to pop them on there and see what they look like. Okay, so quick note here. This one and this one on my Sport Max Toe were used for the factory splash guard, plus this one, and that one. So there's a total of 5 plastic rivets. Now the new RokBlokz only use this one down here and these 2. So I took this plastic rivet was in there from the factory. I had to take it out, so I just reused it here. I'm gonna have to find another one to put in there because there's nothing with the RokBlokz that uses that hole. So I'm gonna have to find another plastic rivet to put in there. I made a mistake and mangled these up when I took them out because I didn't realize that. So when you go to take your factory flares off, if you have factory flares, make sure you're careful with these 2 and don't mangle them up so you can reuse them. If you don't have the factory flares, you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, just a note. All right, so I got one of them done, and light on here. So you can see it's going to come out pretty far. It does cover more area than the factory ones did. But let me show you something about the mounting. Because the instructions said to put the clips on the flap itself and then push the flap up in there. But I found, if I can get the camera in here to show you, that it was much easier. Trying to get the camera positioned. There we go. See those plastic tabs right there? I found that it was a lot easier to put the clips on those tabs and then push the flap up in there and run the screws through. Because the reason being, if you do it the way the instructions said to do it, then this flimsy liner right here is the only thing holding your flap on. And for me, that ain't gonna work. But those 2 plastic tabs back in there are a lot stronger. So I just feel like that's a better option. So put your, I would suggest putting your clips onto those and then slide your flap up in between the liner and those tabs, and then you can run your thumb screws in, and of course you got that third one over there too. So you also might want to put a little bit of Loctite on there if you're not planning on taking these off. I think I'm going to end up getting a little Loctite to put on there just to make sure those don't back out over time. But yeah, it looks like definitely got a couple more inches of clearance over here, so hey, I'll take all I can get to try to preserve the paint on this new truck, right? So let me go do the other side. All right, so once you figure out what you're doing, it goes pretty fast. Got this one on pretty quick. And again, just make sure that when you stick those clips on, see if I can get this to focus a little better. When you put those clips on, I recommend, like I said, just sticking them on those tabs. So that'll give you a flap that's a whole lot sturdier, and it's not just relying on that cheap, flimsy inner liner that for some reason Jeep put on these Gladiators. So there you go, the RokBlokz. Now you can get these in different colors. You can get that logo in different colors. There's several options. You can get these are the extra long ones. You can get the normal length, which comes up to about there. So they got different sizes, different colors, different options. Just check out the website, RokBlokz.com. Hopefully these will work out pretty good. And if I have any trouble with them, I'll let you know. But otherwise, you'll probably be seeing these in a lot more videos coming up. So thanks, guys. And I'll talk to you. You never know when you might need a winch. So he got stuck against the fire hydrant. We're going to try and scoot it, if possible.
And we're videoing.
Hey, quit bumping, you're going to have to actually hold it.
What are you doing?
Holding the brake.
Oh.
So it didn't drag the Jeep.
I was like, why are you doing
John, you want the flashlight?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, here we go. Is it even moving?
Mm-hmm. It's moving.
I heard it.
It's moving.
We're going to have a explosion here in a minute of water everywhere.
It's gonna cause-
Austin Crow, get away from there. Oh my God,
It's moving.
yeah, it's moving it. But is it moving the other tire away from the hydrant?
Quit bumping and just hold it.
Is it off? Oh, thank God.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. I've showed you guys this before, but this is a very beautiful natural area down here. But look at this. People come down here and dump mattresses, couches. I think there's an old toilet bowl over there, tires. I mean, it's just really sad that people will come down to a place like this and just dump their trash. I mean, and the bad thing about it is we have a local government dump site and recycling center that's a mile away. And if you're a resident of this county, you can use it for free. So they could haul their stuff another mile up the road and dump it for free. But they won't. I guess it's easier just to dump it on, you know, a beautiful creek like this. There's a couch. Just really sad. People get on my nerves sometimes. They really do. Eee, there's some big potholes. Ugh. So far these tires are doing a good job of not throwing rocks real bad, which I hope that continues. But I think I'm gonna get some of those RokBlokz, I think they're called. There's a company that makes these really large, oversized splash guards, mud flaps, whatever you want to call them, for these new Jeeps, and gives you a whole lot more tire coverage. So I think I'm going to get some of those just to be on the safe side, because these front tires do stick out pretty far. Might have to order some of those up. Check this out. Just a beautiful area. Look at that. Nice little waterfall. We've hiked up there before, and if you go on up, there's an even bigger waterfall on up that way. It's just beautiful. And there's no dumping signs out here, but people don't pay any attention. Really sad. So, by the way, a lot of people have asked me, does your JT Gladiator have that steering issue like the Wranglers had, you know, where it wanders all over the road? And you can see that it doesn't. I'm out here running almost 70 miles an hour, and it's a really windy day also. I mean, it's breezy and cold out here, and you can see the steering wheel is just, you know, I'm not having to constantly, you know, give it input to stay straight. You know, it drives really well, and this truck has driven really well since day one. So the answer is no. I don't have any issues with the steering at all on this truck. It drives actually just like any other truck I've ever driven. You know, I've had a lot of other trucks that all, of course, had independent suspension and rack and pinion steering, and this one, even with the solid axle and the recirculated ball steering, the old-fashioned setup, it still drives great. You know, I mean, you can take your hand off the wheel and it's straight as an arrow. So no, I mean, it's fine. No steering issue at all. If you've got a steering issue on one of these trucks, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe your lift is a little bit too high. You need to do some suspension geometry correction or something. I don't know, but you know, I've got a 2-inch lift on this one and 35-inch tires, and it drives absolutely fine. So I have no